The neon pulse of Las Vegas thrummed through Emma's veins, a relentless beat that matched the ache in her chest. She leaned against the balcony railing of their hotel suite, the desert air sharp with the tang of cigarette smoke and distant dreams. Below, the strip glittered like a fever dream, all flashing lights and reckless promises. Her best friend Lily stood beside her, close enough that their shoulders brushed, the warmth of her leather jacket a quiet anchor in the chaos. Emma's breath hitched, a secret she'd buried for years clawing its way to the surface. I'm in love with her. And tonight, with the city screaming for bad decisions, that truth felt like a live wire. Emma, 28, a graphic designer from Seattle, had always been the steady one. Organized, practical, the friend who planned the trips and packed extra snacks. Lily, 29, a freelance photographer with the knack for capturing raw, fleeting moments, was the opposite. Wild, impulsive, a spark that could ignite or burn. They'd been inseparable since college, their friendship a tapestry of late-night talks, shared coffees, and unspoken glances that lingered too long. But tonight, in this city that thrived on chaos, something had shifted. A single reckless moment at a dive bar, too many tequila shots, a drunken dare, and a chapel's neon sign promising forever, had left them with matching silver bands on their fingers. Married. To each other. You okay, Em? Lily's voice cut through the hum of the city, low and rough like gravel under boots. She tilted her head, green eyes catching the glow of a nearby billboard. Her dark hair fell in messy waves, framing a face that Emma could sketch from memory. Emma forced a laugh, her fingers tightening around the railing. Yeah, just processing. You know, the whole we got married as a joke thing. Her voice cracked on the last word, betraying the storm inside her. It wasn't a joke to her. It never had been. Lily grinned, that lopsided smile that always made Emma's heart stutter. Come on, it's Vegas. People do dumb shit here all the time. We'll get it annulled tomorrow, no big deal. She nudged Emma's shoulder, but her eyes lingered, searching like she sensed the weight Emma wasn't saying. The air smelled of desert dust and champagne, a faint sweetness from the half-empty bottle they'd swiped from the chapel. Emma's chest tightened as she replayed the night. The way Lily had laughed, fearless, as they stumbled into the chapel. The warmth of her hand when they said, I do. The fleeting moment when their lips brushed, not quite a kiss but close enough to unravel her. She wanted to scream, to tell Lily that this wasn't a game. That she'd loved her since the day they met in that cramped dorm room, arguing over who got the top bunk. Instead, she turned away, staring at the horizon where the first hints of dawn bled into the sky. What if we didn't? She whispered, barely audible over the distant hum of traffic. Lily froze, her breath catching. Didn't what? Get it annulled. Emma's voice trembled, her pulse pounding in her ears. She turned to face Lily, her brown eyes raw with vulnerability. What if we meant it? The silence that followed was deafening, louder than the city below. Lily's expression shifted, surprise, then something softer, unguarded. For a moment Emma thought she saw a flicker of the same longing she'd carried for years. But then Lily laughed, a sharp, nervous sound that cut like glass. Hein? You're drunk. We're drunk. This is crazy. Emma's heart sank, but she forced a nod, swallowing the ache. Yeah. Crazy. She turned back to the railing, her fingers brushing the cheap silver ring. It felt heavier than it should, like it carried every unspoken word between them. The strip glowed below, oblivious to the fracture in her chest. Somewhere in the distance a slot machine chimed, a fleeting burst of joy in a city built on fleeting things. Emma closed her eyes, the weight of the ring grounding her. Even as Lily's words echoed, this is crazy. Maybe it was. But as the first rays of sunlight crept over the desert, she couldn't shake the feeling that this night, this mistake, might be the only chance she'd ever get to tell the truth. The hotel room was a mess of scattered clothes and empty glasses, the remnants of their impulsive night. Emma sat on the edge of the bed, her sketchpad open in her lap, her pencil hovering over a half-drawn outline of Lily's profile. The soft scratch of graphite was the only sound, save for the faint hum of the air conditioner and Lily's steady breathing from the bathroom. where she was splashing water on her face. Emma's eyes darted to the ring on her finger, glinting under the dim hotel light. It felt like a dare, a challenge to confront the truth she dodged for years. Lily emerged, her dark hair damp and clinging to her neck, her leather jacket swapped for a loose tank top. She looked softer like this, less like the untouchable wildfire Emma had always chased. "You're drawing again," Lily said, flopping onto the bed beside her. Her voice carried a teasing warmth, but there was an edge to it, like she was testing the air between them. Emma shrugged, closing the sketchpad before Lily could see the half-finished portrait. "Couldn't sleep. Too much everything." Her voice was tight, the weight of their earlier conversation still pressing against her ribs. She could still hear Lily's laugh. "This is crazy," and it stung like salt in a wound. Lily propped herself up on one elbow, her green eyes narrowing. "You're acting weird, Em. Talk to me." She reached out, her fingers grazing Emma's wrist, and the touch sent a jolt through her, electric and dangerous. Emma pulled away, her heart racing. "I'm fine. Just tired." She stood, crossing to the window, where the Vegas skyline was softening under the early morning light. The city felt quieter now, like it was holding its breath, waiting for her to make a move. Lily sighed, a low, frustrated sound that filled the room. "You're not fine. You've been off since the chapel. What's going on?" She stood, closing the distance between them, her boots scuffing against the carpet. The air smelled faintly of her citrus shampoo, a scent that always made Emma's chest ache with familiarity. Emma's fingers curled into fists, her nails biting into her palms. The words were there, heavy and sharp, but saying them felt like stepping off a cliff. "I meant what I said," she blurted, her voice raw. "About not getting it annulled. I don't want this to be a joke, Lily." Lily's eyes widened, her breath catching in a way that made Emma's stomach twist. For a moment, neither of them moved, the silence thick with unspoken truths. Then Lily stepped closer, her voice low, almost a whisper. "Em, you don't mean that. You can't. We're friends. Best friends. This," she gestured to the rings on their fingers. "This was just Vegas being Vegas." Emma's throat tightened, her eyes burning. "It's not just Vegas for me." The words spilled out, reckless and raw like a dam breaking. "I've been in love with you for years, Lily. Every stupid road trip, every late-night coffee run. Every time you smiled at me like I was the only person in the room. I've been falling apart trying to keep it in. And last night when we said those vows, I meant them. I meant every word." The room felt too small, the air too thick. Lily's face was unreadable. Her lips parted as if she wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. The distant hum of the city filtered through the window, a reminder of the world moving on while Emma stood still. "Emma," Lily's voice was soft, almost broken. She reached out, then stopped, her hand hovering in the space between them. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." Emma laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "How could you not? It's been killing me." She turned away, her hands shaking as she pressed them against the window. The glass was cool under her fingertips, grounding her as the tears she'd fought all night threatened to spill. Lily stepped closer, her presence warm and overwhelming. "Hein, Lukiechimi." Her voice was firm now, laced with something Emma couldn't place. Fear, maybe, or something deeper. When Emma didn't move, Lily gently touched her shoulder, turning her around. Their eyes met, and for the first time, Emma saw something raw in Lily's gaze, something that mirrored her own longing. "I don't know what to say," Lily admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm not running. Okay. I'm here." Her thumb brushed against Emma's shoulder, a small gesture that felt like a lifeline. Emma's breath hitched, hope and fear colliding in her chest. The city outside was waking up, the first rays of sunlight painting the room in gold. For the first time in years, Emma felt like she could breathe, even if the air was laced with uncertainty. The coffee shop down the street from their hotel was a quiet refuge from the strip's chaos, its air thick with the scent of roasted beans and syrupy sweetness. Emma and Lily sat across from each other at a small table by the window, the morning sun casting long shadows over their untouched lattes. The silence between them was heavy, not the comfortable kind they'd shared for years, but something new, fragile, like the thin glass of their cups. Emma's fingers traced the edge of her ring, the metal warm from her skin, while Lily stared out at the passing crowd, her jaw tight. Last night's confession hung between them, a raw wound neither knew how to bandage. Emma's heart still raced at the memory of her own words. "I've been in love with you for years," and Lily's response, soft and tentative, had left her dangling between hope and dread. She wanted to reach across the table, to grab Lily's hand and demand an answer, but fear kept her still. What if this was the end? What if she'd ruined everything? Lily broke the silence first, her voice low, almost drowned by the hum of the espresso machine. "I keep thinking about what you said." She leaned forward, her green eyes searching Emma's face. "About meaning it. The vows, the ring, all of it." Emma's breath caught, her fingers pausing on the ring. "And..." Her voice was barely a whisper, afraid of what came next. Lily sighed, a sound heavy with something Emma couldn't name. "I don't know, Em. I've never thought about us like that. You're my best friend. You're my person. But love? Like love. She shook her head, her hair falling over one shoulder. "It's a lot." Emma's chest tightened, the ache familiar but no less sharp. She forced a small smile, trying to hide the sting. "Yeah, I get it. It's a lot." She looked down at her coffee, the foam swirling in patterns that felt safer than meeting Lily's gaze. "No, don't do that," Lily said, her voice sharp. She reached across the table, her hand hovering over Emma's before settling on the table, close but not touching. "Don't shut me out. I'm trying to figure this out, okay? I need time." Emma nodded, her throat tight. "Take all the time you need." But the words felt hollow. Time was a luxury she wasn't sure she could afford. Not when every second with Lily felt like a countdown to losing her. The coffee shop buzzed around them. Clinking cups, murmured conversations, the hiss of steam. A street performer outside strummed a guitar, the notes drifting in like a fleeting memory. Emma's mind flashed to their first trip together, a spontaneous drive to the Oregon coast. They'd sat on the beach, sharing a blanket, laughing until their sides ached. Lily had looked at her then, her eyes bright with something Emma had convinced herself was just friendship. Now she wasn't so sure. "I keep thinking about the chapel," Lily said suddenly, her voice softer now. "The way you looked at me when we said those vows. It wasn't just a joke to you, was it?" Emma's heart thudded, her fingers curling around her cup. "No," she admitted, her voice raw. "It wasn't. I looked at you and I saw everything I've ever wanted. You, me, forever." "It sounds stupid, I know, but..." "It's not stupid," Lily cut in, her voice fierce. She leaned closer, her hand finally brushing Emma's, a spark that made them both freeze. "It's not stupid, Em. It's just big. And I'm scared I'll mess it up." Emma's breath hitched, her eyes locking with Lily's. For the first time she saw the fear in her friend's gaze, the vulnerability that mirrored her own. "You won't," she whispered, her voice trembling with hope. "You couldn't." Lily's lips parted, but no words came. Instead she squeezed Emma's hand, her touch warm and grounding. The coffee shop faded, the world narrowing to the space between them, charged with possibility. Outside, the guitar player switched to a slow, soulful melody, and Emma felt it in her bones, like the city itself was urging them forward. "We should get out of here," Lily said, her voice steadier now. "Walk. Talk. Figure this out together." Emma nodded, her heart pounding. "Yeah, together." She stood, her hand still in Lily's, the ring glinting like a promise. The Vegas sun was climbing higher, painting the streets in gold, and for the first time since the chapel, Emma felt like they might just find their way. The Vegas Strip was quieter in the morning, the neon dimmed by sunlight, but it still thrummed with restless energy. Emma and Lily walked side by side, their steps slow, deliberate, like they were navigating a minefield. The air smelled of hot asphalt and distant fry grease, the city waking up around them. Emma's hand brushed Lily's, a fleeting touch that sent her pulse racing. Neither pulled away, but neither closed the gap either. The silver rings on their fingers caught the light, a silent reminder of the line they'd crossed. "I've been thinking about us," Lily said, her voice cutting through the hum of passing cars. She stopped by a fountain, its water glittering under the sun, and turned to face Emma. Her green eyes were raw, unguarded, like she'd stripped away the bravado she usually wore like armor. "About what you said. About love." Emma's heart stuttered, her breath shallow. "Yeah." She leaned against the fountain's edge, the cool stone grounding her as she braced for whatever came next. Lily ran a hand through her hair, her fingers trembling slightly. "I've never let myself think about it before. You and me like more than friends. It always felt like a door I wasn't supposed to open." She laughed, a soft, nervous sound. "But then last night happened, and now I can't stop thinking about it. About you." Emma's chest tightened, hope and fear tangling like wires. "What are you saying, Lily?" Her voice was barely above a whisper, afraid to break the moment. Lily stepped closer, her boots scuffing the pavement. "I'm saying I don't know what I feel. Not exactly. But I know I don't want to lose you. And when I saw you in that chapel saying those vows, part of me—" She stopped, her breath hitching. "Part of me felt like it fit. Like maybe I've been running from something I didn't even know I wanted." Emma's eyes burned, tears threatening to spill. She reached out, her fingers brushing Lily's wrist, the touch tentative but electric. "You don't have to know everything right now," she said, her voice thick. "Just don't run. Please." Lily's gaze softened, and for a moment the world fell away. The honking cabs, the chatter of tourists, the relentless pulse of Vegas. She stepped closer, her hand finding Emma's, their fingers intertwining. "I'm not running," she said, her voice steady. "Not this time." The fountain spray misted the air, cool against Emma's skin, and she felt the weight of years lift just a little. They started walking again, hands still clasped, the city unfolding around them like a story they were finally ready to write. They passed a street vendor selling roses, the scent sweet and fleeting, and Lily bought one, tucking it behind Emma's ear with a shy smile. "You look good with flowers," she said, her voice teasing but soft. Emma laughed, the sound lighter than it had been in days. "You're ridiculous." But her heart swelled, the gesture small but heavy with meaning. They kept walking, the strip stretching out like a promise, and for the first time, Emma let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't a mistake. They ended up at a diner, the kind with sticky tables and waitresses who called everyone Han. The jukebox played an old Springsteen song, its chords low and aching, and they sat in a booth sharing a plate of fries. Lily's knee brushed Emma's under the table, a quiet intimacy that felt new and terrifying and right. "So," Lily said, dipping a fry in ketchup, "what do we do now? With this?" She gestured to the rings, her voice light but her eyes serious. Emma took a deep breath, the greasy air filling her lungs. "We figure it out. Day by day. No pressure, no rush. Just us." She reached across the table, her hand covering Lily's, the ring cool against her skin. Lily nodded, her smile small but real. "Day by day. I can do that." She squeezed Emma's hand, and the jukebox switched to a softer song, its melody wrapping around them like a vow. Outside, the Vegas sun burned bright, but inside the diner, the world felt small, safe, theirs. The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed softly, casting a warm glow over the cracked vinyl booth where Emma and Lily sat. The air smelled of coffee and bacon, a comforting hum that grounded Emma as she watched Lily twirl a fry between her fingers. Their hands were still linked on the table, the silver rings glinting like a shared secret. The weight of their impromptu marriage felt lighter now, but the uncertainty lingered, a quiet hum beneath their tentative smiles. Lily leaned back, her leather jacket creaking against the seat. "You know," she said, her voice low, "I've been thinking about what you said, about loving me for years." Her green eyes flicked to Emma's, searching, vulnerable. Why didn't you ever say anything? Emma's throat tightened, her fingers tightening around Lily's. The question stung not because it was unfair, but because she'd asked herself the same thing 1,000 times. I was scared, she admitted, her voice soft but steady. Scared you'd laugh or pull away or I don't know, look at me differently. You're my best friend, Lily. Losing you would've. She stopped, her breath catching. It would've broken me. Lily's expression softened, her thumb brushing over Emma's knuckles. I wouldn't have laughed, she said quietly. I might have freaked out a little, but I'd never look at you differently. She paused, her lips parting as if weighing her next words. You're my home, Em. Always have been. The words hit Emma like a wave, warm and overwhelming. She blinked back, tears, her heart pounding as the jukebox switched to a slow, soulful tune, its notes curling around them like smoke. The diner felt like a bubble, a moment suspended in time, where the world couldn't touch them. So what now? Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. We're married, Lily. What do we do with that? Lily's laugh was soft, almost nervous. Hell if I know. She leaned forward, her elbows on the table, her gaze intense. But I know I don't want to go back to how things were. Not completely. I want to try this. For real. Emma's breath hitched, hope flaring bright and terrifying. You mean that? She asked, her voice trembling. Because I can't do halfway, Lily. Not with you. Lily's smile was small, but it reached her eyes, warm and unguarded. I mean it. I'm scared shitless, but I mean it. She reached across the table, tucking a strand of Emma's hair behind her ear, her touch lingering. Let's figure out what this looks like. Together. The diner's door chimed as a couple walked in, their laughter breaking the spell for a moment. Emma glanced at them, then back at Lily, her heart swelling. Together, she echoed, her voice steadier now. They finished their fries in comfortable silence, the kind that felt like a promise, the kind they'd built their friendship on. As they left the diner, the Vegas sun was high, baking the pavement and casting sharp shadows. They walked hand in hand, the city alive around them, street performers strumming guitars, tourists snapping photos, the distant clang of slot machines. Emma felt the ring on her finger, no longer a weight but a tether, connecting her to Lily in a way she'd never dared hope for. They stopped at a small park, a patch of green tucked between towering casinos. Lily pulled Emma onto a bench, their knees brushing as they sat close. You remember that summer we drove to Yellowstone? Lily asked, her voice soft. We stayed up all night watching the stars, and you said you'd never felt so free. Emma nodded, the memory sharp and vivid, the cool night air, the scent of pine, Lily's laugh echoing in the dark. Yeah, I remember. Lily turned to her, her eyes bright with something new. That's how I feel right now. Scared, yeah, but free. Like maybe this is where we were always headed. She leaned in, her forehead resting against Emma's, their breaths mingling in the warm air. Emma closed her eyes, the world narrowing to the feel of Lily's skin, the sound of her steady breathing. For the first time she let herself believe that this, whatever it was, might just be enough. The park bench was warm under Emma's thighs, the Vegas sun relentless even in the shade of a scraggly palm tree. Lily's forehead still rested against hers, their breaths sinking in a rhythm that felt like a vow. The air smelled of dust and blooming jasmine, a faint sweetness that mingled with the leather and citrus scent of Lily's skin. Emma's heart pounded, a mix of fear and exhilaration, like she was standing on the edge of something vast and uncharted. Lily pulled back slightly, her green eyes searching Emma's face. You okay? She asked, her voice soft but laced with worry. Her hand rested on Emma's knee, a grounding weight that kept her tethered to the moment. Yeah, Emma said, though her voice trembled. Just a lot. She laughed, a small shaky sound, and Lily's lips curved into a smile that made Emma's chest ache. It was the same smile she'd fallen for years ago, the one that could unravel her with a glance. I get it, Lily said, her thumb brushing over Emma's knee. This is big. Bigger than I expected. She glanced at the ring on her finger, her expression unreadable for a moment. But I meant what I said, Em. I want to try. I want us. Emma's breath caught, the words sinking into her like sunlight. She reached for Lily's hand, their fingers intertwining, the silver bands clicking softly against each other. What does that look like? She asked, her voice raw. Us, I mean. Are we dating now? Married? Just figuring it out. Lily laughed, the sound bright and unguarded, cutting through the hum of the city. Hell, I don't know. Maybe all of the above. She leaned back, her arm draped over the bench, her posture relaxed but her eyes intense. Let's just live it. No labels, no rules. Just you and me seeing where this goes. Emma nodded, her heart swelling. I can do that. She paused, then added. But no more tequila shots. That's what got us into this mess. They both laughed, the tension easing like a knot coming undone. The park buzzed with life, kids chasing each other, a street vendor calling out about cold drinks, the distant thump of music from a nearby casino. They stood still holding hands and started walking, the city unfolding around them like a canvas. Emma felt lighter, like the weight of her secret had finally lifted, leaving space for something new. They wandered into a small art gallery, drawn by a sign promising local artists. The cool air inside was a relief, smelling faintly of paint and polished wood. Lily's eyes lit up as they browsed, her photographer's instinct kicking in as she pointed out bold brushstrokes and vivid colors. This is you, she said, stopping at a painting of a stormy sea. All blues and grays with a single streak of gold. Steady but wild underneath. Emma blushed, her fingers brushing Lily's arm. And you're this one, she said, nodding to a photograph of a desert horizon, all sharp lines and burning light. Beautiful but impossible to pin down. Lily grinned, bumping Emma's shoulder. Guess we're a good pair then. The words were light, but they landed heavy, a promise wrapped in playfulness. They lingered in the gallery, sharing quiet comments and stolen glances, the space between them charged with something new and fragile. As they stepped back into the Vegas heat, Lily stopped, turning to face Emma. I want to do this right, she said, her voice steady. No rushing, no pretending it's just a joke. I want to know you, Em. All of you. The parts you've been hiding. Emma's eyes stung, her throat tight. I want that too, she whispered. She stepped closer, their faces inches apart, the world blurring around them. For a moment, she thought Lily might kiss her. But instead, Lily pulled her into a hug, her arms strong and sure. Emma melted into it, the scent of jasmine and leather enveloping her, the steady beat of Lily's heart against her own. The city pulsed around them, alive and relentless, but in that moment it was just them. 2 women, 2 rings, and a future they were finally brave enough to face. The Vegas sky was bruising into dusk, purples and oranges bleeding over the horizon as Emma and Lily walked back to their hotel. The strip was waking up again, its neon heart pulsing louder, but the noise felt distant, like the world was giving them space. Their hands swung between them, fingers laced, the silver rings catching the last rays of sunlight. Emma's chest felt full, a mix of hope and fear so tangled she couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. They reached their suite, the air inside cool and quiet, smelling faintly of champagne and the roses Lily had tucked into Emma's hair earlier. Lily kicked off her boots, the thud soft against the carpet, and flopped onto the couch, pulling Emma down beside her. So, she said, her voice teasing but warm. Married life, day 1. How's it treating you? Emma laughed, the sound easing the knot in her chest. Not bad so far. Kinda weird though. She glanced at the ring, its weight familiar now, like it belonged there. You. Lily tilted her head, her green eyes catching the dim light. Weird's a good word. But good weird. She reached for Emma's hand, her thumb tracing the band. I keep thinking about what you said, about loving me for years. It's a lot to wrap my head around. Emma's heart thudded, her breath shallow. I didn't mean to dump that on you, she said, her voice soft. It just came out. In the chapel with the vows, it felt like the only chance I'd get to say it. Lily's smile was small, almost shy. I'm glad you did. She shifted closer, their knees brushing. I've been replaying it all day. The way you looked at me like I was everything. I've never had anyone look at me like that. Emma's throat tightened, her eyes burning. You are everything, she whispered, the words slipping out before she could stop them. You always have been. Lily's breath hitched, her hand tightening around Emma's. For a moment they just sat there, the silence thick with unspoken promises. The room felt smaller, the air charged like the moment before a storm. Then Lily leaned in, her lips brushing Emma's, tentative at first, then deeper. A kiss that tasted of coffee and courage. Emma's heart exploded, her hands finding Lily's face, the world narrowing to the warmth of her skin, the soft sound of her breath. When they pulled back, both breathing hard, Lily laughed, a shaky, joyful sound. Okay, that was wow. She rested her forehead against Emma's, her eyes bright. I think I could get used to this. Emma grinned, her chest light for the first time in years. Yeah? Good, because I'm not going anywhere. They stayed like that, tangled together on the couch, the city's hum a faint backdrop to their quiet laughter. Later, they ordered room service pizza because Lily insisted it was the food of love, and ate cross-legged on the floor, trading stories like they had 1,000 times before. But now, every glance felt heavier, every touch electric. Emma told Lily about the first time she realized she loved her. A rainy night in college when Lily had danced barefoot in their dorm, singing off-key to an old Radiohead song. Lily admitted she'd always felt something too. A pull she'd chalked up to friendship, too scared to name it anything else. The night deepened, the city outside glowing like a fever dream. They moved to the balcony, the desert air cool against their skin. Lily leaned against the railing, her arm around Emma's shoulders, and they watched the strip pulse below. This feels right, Lily said, her voice soft but sure. Scary as hell, but right? Emma nodded, her head resting against Lily's shoulder. Yeah, it does. The rings on their fingers glinted, a reminder of the leap they'd taken, the promise they were still learning to keep. The city sang its reckless song, but for once, Emma didn't feel lost in it. She felt found. The Vegas morning was soft, the sun filtering through the hotel curtains in golden slants. Emma woke to the sound of Lily's steady breathing, her arm draped across Emma's waist, their bodies tangled in the sheets. The air smelled of lavender from the hotel soap and the faint tang of last night's pizza. Emma's eyes traced Lily's face, her dark lashes, the freckles dusting her nose, the curve of her lips, and her heart swelled with a quiet certainty. This was real. They were real. Lily stirred, her green eyes fluttering open. Morning, wife, she mumbled, her voice thick with sleep and a teasing warmth that made Emma's stomach flip. She reached for Emma's hand, their rings clicking together, and pulled her closer, their foreheads touching. Morning, Emma whispered, her voice soft but full. She'd spent years dreaming of moments like this, but the reality was messier, warmer, better. The weight of the ring on her finger felt like a promise, not a mistake. They lingered in bed, trading lazy kisses and quiet laughs, the city's hum a distant murmur. Eventually they got up, the room a chaos of scattered clothes and half-packed bags. Their flight back to Seattle was that afternoon, and the real world loomed like a shadow. Emma felt a flicker of fear. What would happen when the Vegas magic faded? Could they carry this fragile, beautiful thing home? Lily seemed to sense it, her hand finding Emma's as they packed. Hey, she said, her voice steady. We're not leaving this behind, okay? It's not just a Vegas thing. It's real. Emma nodded, her throat tight. I know. I don't want to mess this up. You won't, Lily said, her smile fierce. We won't. We've got this. She pulled Emma into a hug, her arms strong and sure, and for a moment the fear melted away. They checked out of the hotel, the lobby buzzing with tourists and the clink of slot machines. Outside, the strip was alive, the air thick with heat and possibility. They stopped at a small chapel on the way to the airport. Not the one they'd stumbled into, but another quieter, with stained glass that caught the sunlight. Inside it smelled of old wood and candle wax, a calm contrast to the city's chaos. Lily took Emma's hand, her eyes bright. "Let's say it again," she said, her voice low but certain. "The vows. For real this time." Emma's heart pounded, tears prickling her eyes. They stood in the empty chapel, hands clasped, and spoke the words they'd rushed through 2 nights ago. "I, Emma, take you, Lily, to love and to hold, for better or worse, as long as we both shall live." Lily's voice echoed hers, steady and sure, and when they kissed it felt like a seal, a promise that could outlast the desert sun. The flight home was quiet, their hands linked over the armrest, the rings glinting under the plane's dim lights. Seattle greeted them with rain, the familiar patter against the airport windows a soft welcome. They stepped into the drizzle, sharing an umbrella, their laughter cutting through the gray. Back in their shared apartment, the world felt different, smaller, softer, theirs. They cooked dinner together, bumping hips in the cramped kitchen, the air filled with the scent of garlic and wine. Lily hung one of her photos from Vegas on the wall, a shot of the Strip at dawn, the light catching their rings as they stood side by side. "Our first memory," she said, her voice warm. Emma smiled, her heart full. "The first of many." They sat on the couch, legs tangled, the rain a steady rhythm outside. The rings on their fingers were no longer a drunken whim but a choice, a beginning. Vegas had given them a spark, but this, the quiet moments, the shared glances, the promise of forever, was theirs to build. As the rain fell, Emma leaned into Lily, her best friend, her wife, her everything. The world outside could wait. For now they had each other, and that was enough.